Hey guys, what's up? It's Audrey. In the past, I did make a video about 5 different projects for motion design for any skill level that anyone could tackle. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a couple different project ideas specifically for designers. And obviously there's more than 5, but this is just off the top of my head at least ones that I think that are super valuable in experimenting with your own styles. They're super low lift, but I think that they have enough barriers to kind of like work within, but also enough room to be super creative and super experimental with it, that you can kind of stop and start these however you see fit. So badge designs. So we all know badge designs and kind of like what they are. So kind of thinking about creating your own set of boundaries, which is kind of like in a way that badge shape, whatever it may be. And then you can experiment with every variable from there. So like the typography, color, iconography, illustration, and especially the badge shape itself. And obviously you can take it a step further with kind of adding a bit of purpose to it. So if it's for kind of like a fictional or real summer camp kind of logo, or like a brewing company logo, could be an enamel pin design, something for a hat, or even actual patches. And as always, with most mini projects especially, you can think about it in a series. So for example, you could do one for each national park, or you could do one for each of your favorite sports teams, or like all of the NBA or something like that. But yeah, badge designs. They're nothing revolutionary by any means, nothing new, but I think it's a great design exercise for the sake of kind of having like a set of boundaries with that, surface area, bespoke shape or whatever, and then choosing how you want to kind of manipulate all of the variables inside of that and kind of what you want to focus on with design. So yeah, badge designs. Okay, so this one might be a little controversial, but decks or presentation designs are actually really good for a miniature kind of design project. I know that they sound super boring and mundane, but think about it as if it's something that you would actually use. Especially if you're a freelancer, you would actually probably use this. Making like a deck template or just a small little presentation is a great way to exercise your typography, your layout, and especially your grid skills. It can be a little more time consuming than it seems as well, but it's funny. It's something that also kind of reveals a bit of your own design process and your own design thinking, and kind of finding out too how much you lean toward being more minimalist or more maximalist, and kind of how you treat a blank page like that. But I stand with decks. Okay, decks can be cool. There's a lot of really fun ways to bring them to life, like making your own little animations that you could add on top of them too, like GIFs and stuff like that, moving backgrounds or like patterns, stuff like that, experimenting with really wild color palettes or some really wild typography treatments. You can do a lot of things with interesting like framing layouts, and like how you do like portrait photos or just like a landscape kind of frame device also. And then in terms of like the types of decks that you can kind of experiment with and make too are obviously making something for your portfolio, and just kind of like a quick about me kind of thing that showcases your work in a really interesting way. This might sound a little nerdier, but capabilities, I know that's super popular, especially with like smaller studios and stuff, sending that out to other bigger companies that might want to use you or your services. And it's just kind of like a nice way to lay out what you're capable of doing, some work that might ladder back to that and what you've done, essentially just like what your services are. And again, that's kind of like the prime way, other than your portfolio, to really showcase your design skills and just to like make all that stuff look super good. You can make like a fake pitch for a project, or just, kind of a template for a future pitch that you might do, especially if you're a freelancer. Or if you want to do something more personal, again, I know decks aren't really known for being used for something like this, but if you were to do something kind of like a digital family timeline of like all of your vacations and like the photos and some like written memories and stuff like that, that you can attach to that as well. That could be a fun thing. Or you could be extremely silly with it, which is something I know I will definitely do in the future, like making a presentation about cows, because they're awesome. So I probably mentioned this in the motion design project idea as well, but style frames. I think style frames are probably my most favorite way to do design because it is so flexible and it's so versatile, and you can truly go down different rabbit holes with it, and you can make as many as you want, whether they are related to each other or not. But they're primarily used for motion design and kind of planning out what a motion design piece is going to look like. But they're great for other things too. I know I see it a lot for branding and for style guides, making your own references from mood boards. You can make some really cool backgrounds with it for your desktop or for your phone. Style frames are kind of meant to be a very free flow form of design where you're really just like kind of brain dumping your ideas onto like a digital page. And doing style frames can almost always kind of manifest other project ideas in that process too. But yeah, you can just go full rain, full blast on a 16:9 ratio kind of canvas, and you make the rules. And while the blank page might be super daunting for people, I think, you know, thinking about certain variables that you might want to focus on, like characters or landscapes, or if you're focusing more on color or how you're treating the type with something, or just trying to get like a certain look and feel that you're referencing. And then also you can kind of think about it in like a sequential kind of form too, almost like they're storyboards, but a little more developed. Something that I've kind of used semi recently in like the last year or so with the work that I've been doing are called style tiles. And I think a lot of people would confuse this with like making a mood board or something like that, but it's really not that, but it's really more tailored to the things that you are currently designing and kind of putting those together in like its own little puzzle. So similar to like a relatively recent design trend called bento boxes. We're all familiar with bento boxes, not the food version, but you know, for kind of showcasing work and different pieces of a project, for example. You can kind of think of style tiles like that. But again, it's not just adding images and stuff from Pinterest into a mood board and saying, I'm done, I designed this. But it's really kind of thinking about multiple different pieces of like a small little design exercise, like branding, for example, and what those pieces kind of look like together as like part of a family and like a little puzzle. And then when you think about the individual sizes of those sections of your style tiles, remember that, you know, size equals impact, and, you know, the larger you want to have something, the more of that attention you want to be captured versus what might be more of an accent. But ideally with style tiles, you kind of want to make it super dynamic and having different kind of bits of design, if that makes sense. So ideally, like you'd want to have maybe have some illustration in there, or, you know, some vectors or whatever kind of things you have designed. You could have some patterns in there, some big typography specimens, maybe like a photo or a video treatment, and then just, you know, how you want to kind of curate that to kind of lead the viewer's eye around, I think is super fun. And I think this is just a great exercise also just for when it comes to art directing and kind of honing in on a style for specific projects. So a good example of this, and I'm doing this currently with my own personal branding, is you know, when doing like a personal brand refresh and all of the little pieces that I'm kind of thinking about implementing with like the final kit and everything, and how those things all look together and if they all look like, you know, they're part of the same family. So another pretty obvious one, but again, I think this is like a super good versatile kind of project that literally anyone can tackle, are beverage labels / package designs. So it's definitely a project we've all flirted with at one point or another, whether we were in school or just like side project kind of things, or making kind of the side project work that we want to do professionally. But this is a super easy one for any designer to tackle, especially when you think about all the different design resources that we have access to, free and paid, to be able to mock up our designs on literally anything and to make it all look super cool. But yeah, I mean, experiment with your favorite beverages. It doesn't have to be alcohol or anything that's super common. And it's not just the design on the bottle or the can, it can be the actual packaging itself and like the carriers, or if there's koozies, like anything kind of related to that as well. Or if you want to keep, you know, kind of expanding that as a project, what the branding of this like beverage company might be like in general. And then, you know, obviously the out of home kind of applications, like what it might look like in a store or what it might look like as like an advertisement. And it can be as absurd or minimal or maximalist or just wild as you want. And again, there's countless mockups online to kind of bring your designs into more of a realistic form. And again, this is a great way to kind of build some sample designs if you're wanting to do this as a freelancer or more full-time, just to kind of rack up some of those, you know, little mini projects and showing the understanding of how how to bring the design and illustration into a small product like that. As always, thank you guys so much again for watching this. You guys are all smart, you're creative, so if there's any other ideas that you think kind of fall into this video past, these 5 ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm sure other people can benefit from that as well. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.